HCAM. Supporting materials that have been provided to members of the commission are available on the town's website. After commission members and staff have discussed each project application on the agenda, the chair will then open the discussion to public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak are asked to identify their name and address. 3 minutes will be afforded for each public comment. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote of the commission members. And if I can just confirm the commission members that are present: Melissa,
Here.
Ed,
Here.
Janine,
Here.
Ted,
Here.
and this is Jeff Barnes. So currently Kerry and Jim Cirillo are not in attendance, and I don't believe Jim is joining tonight, correct, Anna?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, and staff members, we have Don McAdam,
Present.
Anna Rogers,
Present.
and Matt Verrill from Lucas Environmental.
Here.
Okay. All right, so why don't we start with Anya. Good evening, Anya. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing very well, thank you. So we wanted to first off make sure that you got your turtle.
Yes.
Did that arrive at your house safely,
Mm-hmm.
Leonardo?
Yeah.
So first off, I wanted to thank you very much for reaching out to the commission. I thought that was a great thing that you did. And it was, very inspiring to see such a young person, take an initiative for the wildlife and the environment and really step up and kind of be a leader. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you thought about the project and, how you reached out to Mr. Harrow, if you don't mind.
I saw a lot of turtles run over by cars, and I felt bad for them because I love animals. So I emailed Ed, and then he considered of putting my signs up, and after a little while, the signs got off, and I was very excited to see them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you very much for reaching out to us again. And in case you're curious why that turtle's name is Leonardo, you might be a little bit young, but are you familiar with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? The 4 Ninja Turtles that eat pizza and fight crime in New York City in the sewers. Are you familiar with those guys?
No, not much.
Okay, you'll have to look it up on YouTube if your mom will let you. It's a cartoon, but there's 4 brothers: Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, and Michelangelo. And, Leonardo is kind of the older brother and the leader of the pack. And, we thought it was appropriate, since you kind of stepped up and as a young leader and, reached out to put these signs up to the commission, we wanted to name the turtle Leonardo. So we thought you would like that.
Thank you. I really like the name, and thank you for giving me this turtle, and thank you for putting up the signs.
Great. Thank you, Anya. Thank you. All right. Well, Ed, I don't know, did you want to say anything, or any of the other commission members to Anya?
Anya, thank you. There's been a few people who have commented on the signs, but you were inspirational, and I really appreciate your interest. Thank you.
Thank you for considering to put my signs up.
All right, Anya, thanks again. And feel free to hang in there and listen to the meeting if you like, or you can just drop off. It's up to you. Okay.
Okay, thank you again.
You're welcome. Bye. Okay, So let's move on to the agenda items. So we have a number of documents for review tonight. Ofria 200 Wood Street, and these are all order of conditions. We have Toll Brothers on Wayland Road, Lot 22, Lot 23, Lot 25, Lot 28, and Lot 29. We have Morrow 88 Franklin Road. We have Toll Brothers Chamberlain Street, Lot 3, Chamberlain Street, Lot 5, and Chamberlain Street, Lot 15. So Don, it sounds like you had a lot of writing that you had to do this past
And
week.
Kim bore the brunt of it. I chipped in a little, but all the credit goes out to her. I didn't know if you wanted me to bring up all 10 items or if you guys had a chance to look at them and we could just have Anna do the typical vote. I can crack open one where it has that language, you know. I'll open up 1732. And
Yep, they look good to me. I did peruse them.
so if you just wanted to approve for Anna to sign on the commission's behalf, we'll
Yep.
try and move those 10 order of conditions through the system.
Right, yep. So can I get a motion that the documents for review, which are the orders of conditions for the stated properties, be issued in the form currently before the commission, and that Anna Rogers be authorized to sign the docs on behalf of the commission members present?
I'll make that motion.
All right, Ted, in a second, please.
Second, Janine.
Janine, all right, and we'll do the roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. Okay. Okay, good. All right, new applications. We only got one in this week, or two. So that's good. Okay. And I think we'll hold off on the, did we have any public forum requests done?
Nothing I'm aware of.
Okay. All right, good. Let's just jump right into the, agenda then, for the public hearings. So for anyone in the public that's on the call, we had a number of the projects that were continued based on the request from the applicant. So that was Babin 50 Lakeshore Drive was continued out to June 22nd. And the 5 mass laborers training applications on East Street were also continued out to the 22nd. There are a couple of the Toll Brothers lots, lot 1 and 2, that were continued out to the 22nd. And then lastly, Claro on 0 Hayden Row, which was a request for reconsideration, that has been continued out to June 22nd.
And
Just
lot
so you know.
12 for Tall Brothers as well.
I'm sorry, Don, what was that?
Lot 12, the first
Oh, lot
number
12,
one.
okay.
Yep, that one as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good. Okay, so Toll Brothers Lot 4, Chamberlain Street. This is a notice of intent for a single family home. And I'm just going to read the notice. There are 4 or 5 different lots that we're going to that are going to be introduced tonight. Lot 4, Lot 7, Lot 11, Lot 13, and Lot 20. Lots 4, 7, 11, 13 are Chamberlain Street, and Lot 20 is on Wayland Road. So I'll just open all of those up now, and then we can just move along a little bit more efficiently. So the Hopkinton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 8th, 2021 at 7:00 p.m. virtually online to hear all persons interested in a notice of intent filed by Toll Brothers to construct a single-family house with associated site work. And those locations are Lot 4 Chamberlain Street, Lot 7 Chamberlain Street, Lot 11 Chamberlain Street, Lot 13 Chamberlain Street, and Lot 20 Wayland Road. So those have been formally opened. Okay, so Lot 4. Mr. Gelsick, I think I saw you join the meeting. He dropped off. Oh, Mr. Cusick, sorry.
You're getting me confused for a minute.
Sorry.
That's okay. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. I'll be very, very brief in running through these. These 5 lots are the last of them. So now you would have seen all of the lots here. And frankly, these I think are the easiest. They're the ones that really, abut the detention basins that are further, into the buffer and have previously been approved by the commission. These were essentially kind of all prepared together. Originally, I just didn't file them all at once. So a lot of the limits of the PIBs and the comments that we've heard before are not incorporated into some of these comments that we've heard through the prior hearings. So as I go through the quick presentation, I will also just show you what we're proposing to do to be consistent with prior comments we've received from the commission.
Great.
So with lot 4, as you can see, it's on the Chamberlain Street side, similar to all of the ones you've seen in the past. Really, it's up on the front setback. It is kind of as you come around the bend there. There's a detention basin behind the lot, and you have wetlands essentially on either side. Building deck fully outside the 100, a little bit of grading within it. This is the lot we talked about swale, just as the cursor was going right down to the basin. If you recall on the lot prior, you asked us to make sure we put the note on to make sure that the swale wasn't blocked. So the grading is shown to the limits that we need the grading shown at. And we showed the PIB to the edge of the limits of work. What I would propose in this case is really to move that in. It's probably going to be about 10 feet or so, and just have it go right along the top of the berm. You can see the contours that create that berm. Yep, right there. I propose we essentially just move the PIB limits there, so everything that slopes at the top of the berm that then slopes to the wetlands would grow back to its natural state.
Okay, that sounds reasonable to me. I'll open it up to the commission members for comment. Any comments from commission members?
I have a question.
Yes.
If we can slide the drawing down just a little bit more. No, the other way, sorry, the house down. There we go, okay. So it looks almost like there's 2 driveways. What am I seeing?
No, there's only one driveway. That's it right there. I think you may, on the other side, there's some of the utilities that are coming into the house. That might be what you're seeing.
Well, there's a swoopy thing that comes into the front of the house, yeah.
Yeah, that's what.
Utilities.
Yeah, that's what you're referring. That's the force main from the house for sewer
Okay.
and the water connections.
Okay. Part of the problem is that I'm not seeing so good and the drawing's really small. Thank you.
You got it.
Okay, other comments from commission members? Matt, did you have any follow-up comments? It looks like.
Yeah, my comments were pretty consistent from previous weeks. And I think the only substantive comment about pulling the PIBs in was addressed.
Okay. And then we just want to make sure that we're labeling the PIB as a permanent immovable barrier, Mr. Cusick, and not a permanent wetland marker. So I think that same comment will carry through to all these plans, right?
Absolutely. I think the comment list was consistent with what we've seen previously. And so that note, just to save the conversation on the subsequent meetings, that note will be incorporated into the final plan
Got
that I
it.
give you. And then the comments about moving the wetland, the PIBs in, I'll run through that at every one we go through. We've got some thoughts on those.
Okay, perfect. So do we have questions or comments from the public on this one? Okay, so doesn't look like, I don't see any hands raised. So we can vote on this, subject to submittal of a revised plan. Mr. Cusick, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, yep. I think that's the way we did it previously. You'd vote, then we follow up with the final plan and the DEP, I think file number.
File number. Yeah, okay. If I can get a motion to close and approve the notice of intent as discussed for Lot 4 Chamberlain Street.
So moved, Ted.
And a second.
Second.
All right, Janine, and we'll do the roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. Okay. So Lot 7.
Lot 7, again, similar comments to Lot 4. It is on Chamberlain on the downhill side of it. Again, there is a detention basin right behind the house. You can see on the back left corner, which kind of encloses the the backyard essentially. Again, as we did this prior, the grading goes out to where the grading needs to go to. But we've had the PIBs at the back, at where the grading stopped. We will propose to move those in. So essentially on the side lot, we'd propose to essentially, if you draw a line right where the 450 contour is, all the way up to the road, and then come down. Exactly. If you go parallel to the 450, and go right, go directly to the road straight up. I propose to move it in there on the side, and then as you cut the corner, essentially following the 446 contour, but keeping it at least 60 feet. Yep, exactly. Just something along those lines to pull that in. So as the slope starts going down, we'll let that naturalize. And then the backyard is obviously capped by the detention basin.
Okay, I'll open up to comments from the commission members.
Through the chair.
Yes, go ahead, Ted.
Mr. Cusick, thank you very much for moving the PIBs in. I'd like to propose moving them a little further, at least than what I think Don indicated. So what I'm looking at, and it's hard for me to see the numbers on the contour line, so forgive me, but I think it says, I'm looking at the backyard PIB where it intersects 444.
Yep.
Can you help me out there, Don? Yeah, beautiful. But can you put that where it intersects the PIB? Nope, the other way. Bingo. I'm proposing from there a straight line to that bend in the 450 that you just commented on. Draw a straight line from where Don is to that bend in the 450 that's within the 50 to 100 foot buffer. Don, do me a favor. Start
Yeah.
by the road and follow the 450 contour line along until I tell you to stop. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Stop, and now draw a straight line from there to where 444 hits the PIB, where you just, where I had you before. Bingo. That's what I'm proposing. I feel like this is again side yard, which you indicated was not that important. That's a nice natural line, and it's a lot less incursion in the 50 to 100 buffer. There's still plenty of backyard there along with the 40 feet guideline we've been working with, and it significantly less work or yard in the 50 to 100 foot buffer on the side.
Yeah, I think that's generally okay. If I'd like to pull the 50 down a little bit more because you're essentially cutting it halfway through the house. So I think it would provide the homeowner a little more area if you actually continued the 450 line, again, parallel with how it's shown, so parallel with the side of the house, stop it at the 448. That's still well over 60 feet of buffer. And
I'll
then
take
connect to
that as
the,
a compromise. And then
Yeah.
when you hit the 448, draw a line to the
Yeah.
444 hitting the backyard PIB.
yeah, I just want to give them something that they're not going to try to sneak, I want to make it.
I will accept that as a compromise.
Okay.
That's somewhere between your initial proposal edit and mine, and I'll take that.
Jeff, can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead, Melissa.
The basin in the back, what's the pathway to get there for maintenance? Because I see the retaining wall on the one block, blocking half. I'm wondering how they get vehicles back there to maintain the basin.
I think it's actually from the other lot to the left of it.
Okay.
That'd be lot 6.
Okay. And then, Matt, I think one of your comments on this one was regarding the stabilized construction exit. You wanted the BMP related to that was not depicted on the plan. So I think that was just a comment that we wanted that added, Mr. Cusick.
Yeah, I think we talked this the last hearing. This is the same comment from the prior ones, and I think there's an overall one for the whole road. I don't think each home doesn't have one. It's in the overall subdivision that was approved. That would be utilized.
Okay, that's fair enough. Matt, you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine. I guess the question would be is if at some point, say one of these houses doesn't get built for some reason and, the roadway is kind of opened up, at some point there could be a reason to put one on the individual.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think it makes sense to keep it in there. It was really just, if you have the detail, kind of understanding where that BMP is going to be. So.
Yeah, I think that, you're right. If all of a sudden they all got built and, lot 7, lagged behind them, you wouldn't want to be dragging mud up the finished road that was done. If that was the case, that you would be adding a traction pad there.
Okay. Okay, questions or comments from the public on lot 7?
So through the chair, that's like a special condition you'd want in the order of conditions that there's a pad outside the commission's purview along the road. Is that what we're talking about? Somewhere along here or in here?
Yeah, I think if we can just, put a condition in, Don, where, one or two of the lots isn't going to be developed. Or if there's a lag,
Okay.
that.
So this is as worded something that, as needed if a lag occurs, something to that effect.
Yeah. There'll be a stabilized construction exit as a BMP depicted on the individual plans that, were being delayed.
Yeah, if
Something
deemed
to-
necessary, deemed necessary by HCC, something to that effect.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, if I can get a motion to close and approve the notice of intent for lot 7, subject to receipt of a revised plan and the DEP file number.
I'll make that motion.
And the second, please.
I'll second. Janine.
All right, and we'll do the roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. Okay. Lot 11.
All right, lot 11, very similar to what we've been discussing. and I actually had mine up on screen here. It froze on me. But essentially, you look at the plan, you'll see this is it's at the end of the cul-de-sac on Chamberlain. So it's the last lot there, where we have essentially the house is at the 100-foot buffer, and then pretty much right from the house we start to slope down to match grade. What we would propose to do is along that slope, pull the the PIB back essentially to straddle the 440 and 442 contour. So if need to get around the house and the yard there, you got a little bit of room, but just to let the slope grow in natural down to the wetland area downstream.
Okay, and I'll open up to comments from the commission members.
This is Ed. Why not move the house away from the 100-foot buffer? It seems like you have room on the other side to do that.
We actually don't. If you look at the back right corner, we're wedged in. That's right on the setback line. So we're wedged in between the front setback line, and then the back right corner is right on the setback line as well.
Oh, right here.
Yes. Yep.
Yep.
Right. Very busy plan.
Yeah, there's a lot of information on there.
Okay,
Through the chair.
yes, Matt, go ahead.
Just a question. So it looks like there's those proposed contours down at the bottom of the plan that look like they're just on top of the existing contours. Oh, is that because you've got all right, that's for the drain?
Yeah. Yep. You've got the drain down in there.
So I guess the question would be is if you're pulling the PIB up on that slope, would you pull the erosion controls with it so you're not just clearing out some vegetation that's existing on that slope just to let it grow back?
So I think the erosion controls we're proposing to really to put them where their the limit of slope is. But we're not looking to go beyond that. So if there's what we did though in this one, we've kind of melded what we had for the proposed house, for lot for this particular lot 11, but we blended that with essentially the subdivision road just so you could see everything together. So I think what you might be looking at is what was needed for the infrastructure associated with the subdivision drain work.
So in other words, that's already all disturbed.
Correct. Yeah, and the intent is we'll pull these PIBs up so everything on that slope will then grow back to, really to its natural state. It won't be mowed and treated, and it will just grow back.
And just to confirm, you're proposing moving the PIBs between 440 and 442.
That is confirmed.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes, Ed.
I noticed the diagonal that you're calling it a side setback. What's the back setback? I asked this question because our house is on a similar lot, and we had some discussion years ago when we were doing an addition, and the determination was that the diagonal line was a back line and not a sideline. So I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, sometimes it gets tricky as to how that works depending on the shape of your lot. So I can't speak to your specific situation, but on here it's somewhat irrelevant in that the side and the rear setback are each 30 feet. So it really doesn't matter what you call it. It's still the same distance.
Okay, that's good. Thanks.
Through the chair, I have a few questions.
Yes, go ahead, Carrie.
I was just curious, like, where that stormwater detention basin is in the back, is there a fence around it? Or how, like, is that gonna be maintained? Or how does that play into where you have where we were just talking about the permanent, the PIB?
Yeah, so the basins themselves, they will be maintained by the homeowner association. So those, like any basin that you have, you're going to have it mowed a couple times a year. You want to make sure that you don't have trees and shrubs growing in the side walls of the of the basins, just to keep the integrity. The basins will have to get cleaned out from time to time depending on the sediment loading that occurs within it. But the basin itself will be mowed within probably a couple times a year. I don't have the O&M in front of me for the subdivision, but that's typically.
So like I'm just curious, like, where's the lawn end and the basin begin, especially in like that bottom left corner? Like, is there a fence there? Like where the erosion control barrier is, will there be a fence, or is it stay?
Yeah, I think they're shallow enough where that I don't think there'll be a fence there.
Okay.
But it would
So
just.
yeah, how do we know where the lawn ends and the easement starts?
So it's really the what you're going to see in the field is pretty much the slope of the basin. When you look at the basin, it'll slope up, and then it will flatten out. So essentially you can see, it's kind of hard to see it, but the drainage easement is essentially right up where the erosion control barriers are, and that's where that drainage easement starts. Exactly that light dashed line. So everything from that that line, and I'll call it page down, that will be essentially maintained a couple times a year. That would get mowed, just to make sure that again, you don't have trees growing in there and things that would be problematic for the functionality of the drainage basin.
Yeah, I get all that. So can you explain where the PIB oh, you don't have a mouse. I'm just, where is the PIB in that bottom corner?
So the bottom corner, it would probably stop right at the drainage easement. So you have the 440 to 442, you follow those contours, and you'd stop probably right where that drainage easement is. Because again, that's where the easement
right around.
is. Yeah,
Sorry.
right where the cursor is, give or take.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
What are they planning on putting in as a PIB, Mr. Cusick? Do you know? Is it going to be a fence or stone wall?
No, I think that the PIBs would just be the standard
Medallions?
standard marker. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Are there any questions or comments from the public on lot 11?
Through the chair, the area to be naturalized will be overseeded with a conservation seed mix, native seed mix, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, it would not be planted with a normal like a grass lawn mix. It would be a wildlife mix that the intent would be it would grow in.
Okay. All right, I don't see anyone's hand raised from the public. So if I get a motion to close and approve the notice of intent for lot 11, subject to the receipt of a revised plan as discussed.
So
And a second.
Second, Janine.
And we'll do the roll call. Melissa, actually Melissa dropped off. She had another meeting to go to. So Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
aye.
Ed,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. Okay. Lot 13.
Lot 13 is probably the easiest of them all. The majority of really the site, the grading, a lot of it's really pulled outside of the buffer altogether. It's a very small section of grading within the 100-foot buffer. You probably have a good 80 foot of separation to the wetland. The one area where we need to disturb up to the 50-foot line, but the intent is that it would then grow back in, is just to allow the foundation drain for the building to head out in discharge. So again, that would be temporarily cleared just to get that 4-inch foundation drain in, but then it would be planted with that wildlife mix and grow in. But beyond that, pretty straightforward.
Okay, and then Matt, you had a note here that you recommended being added to the plan, that the final location of the outlet pipe would be determined based on avoidance of large trees. Just to,
Yeah, it seemed like that. Presumably that pipe just has to get to the right elevation, but could take a route to avoid trees if there were any decent sized trees going through there. And then just a comment about, I think John already kind of mentioned it, that it'll be left to revegetate.
mhm. Does that sound
We
okay?
don't have an issue with that request. That makes sense, Matt.
Through the chair, thank you, Matt. That was going to be mine.
Okay, great. Any other questions, comments from commission members?
Yeah, just to confirm, so it doesn't seem like the foundation drain has to be that long. I can't see the contours. It's because of the contours?
Yeah, it's got to discharge at the proper elevation. That's what's got it going to that length.
So what's the elevation? It looks like it's in the middle of contours right there.
Yeah, I mean, it goes to approximately 453. Just got to remember, it's got to go, that drain, goes right at the bottom of the, essentially the bottom of the footing below the basement. So you have to have a pitch on it as it goes out, just to make sure there's positive direction there.
Yeah, because the way you designed the basement. So it goes to the property line.
Yeah, essentially, correct.
So I just have a question. I guess maybe it has less to do with this lot than lot 12, which is a problematic lot. You're draining the water onto lot 12? If there is a home at lot 12, does that work for them?
Yes, because at that point, the contours head right to the wetlands, and it's not it's not a significant amount of water. It's really a bit of a trickle, and it's inside the 50-foot buffer, which they can't touch anyway, where that discharges. Essentially, kind of how it heads over that way.
Okay.
Okay, questions, comments from the public? Okay, if I can get a motion to close and approve the notice of intent for lot 13, and I don't think we need a revised plan on this one.
Jeff, I think we do need a revised plan because this one is showing the PIBs following the pipe. I think it is.
No, it's not. It was that's just the limit of clearance for the pipe. The PIBs go straight across.
Could we perchance put a PIB dot on top of the pipe right there? Just to be absolutely clear?
We can, yeah, I mean, we can add it to one side of it. Obviously, it can't be right on top of the pipe, but yep, we can do that.
Okay.
Chair,
And then just to reiterate, that area will be revegetated once the drain is installed, correct? That tongue that comes out,
Yep.
that'll be allowed to reestablish.
Yep, it will.
and
Yes,
a note
Matt.
on the plan about sort of flexibility and where that pipe goes to avoid trees.
Right, yep, good point, okay. Okay, so,
I'm sorry, Jeff, I don't want to belabor it. I was just thinking about that, Matt. If that pipe has to move, say further, again, I lost track of compass directions, but if that pipe has to move towards the top of the plans, is that are you gonna have the proper contour for it to work, or will it have to go inside the 50-foot buffer? And if the pipe has to move towards the bottom part of the plans, does that screw things up with the neighbor? Because now it's outside the 50-foot buffer where the neighbor could get, if there is a house, get mad. I'm just wondering if if there's a tree right in the middle, does it throw all sorts of other things off?
So it's something we'd look at in the field per Matt's comment. There isn't a whole lot of flexibility in the discharge point per se, but you can put a small bend in the pipe if you had to. You can work it around a tree within certain framework. So there is some flexibility that we can look at while we're doing this, but the end discharge point, it's got to end pretty close to that location.
So it would, if it needed to be moved, it would be either, 2 or 3 feet either to the east or to the west of its current location, sounds like.
That's correct. But for instance, say there happened to be a tree at, call it 80 feet, in from the wetland. We could probably bend it around that tree to discharge at the same point. So there's some flexibility that we have. The end discharge, to your point, Mr. Chairman, it's only got to be a few feet from where we're shown, which a few feet might make a difference if there's a tree in the vicinity.
If Matt's comfortable with that, then I'm fine. Matt knows a lot more about that than I do.
Yeah, I think it's one of those that really will have to be, like John said, really field determined. What the tree is. It's hard to kind of guess on exactly what's there, and who knows, maybe the house ends up getting built a foot higher for some reason because they hit ledge or something. There's probably a lot of variables that could affect it. I think it's just a matter of when it comes time to put that in, that the contractor just doesn't say, okay, I got to go from point A to point B, blinders on, go in the tree cutter and just cut everything with no thought.
Yeah, and to your point, we'll add that note on the plan so it's captured.
Okay. Comments from the public, if I didn't already ask. All right, I don't see any hands raised. So if I get a motion to close and approve the notice of intent for lot 13, subject to receipt of a revised plan as discussed.
Make that motion.
And the second.
I'll second.
And we'll do the roll call. Carrie,
Aye.
Janine.
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye.
Right.
All right, we'll move on to lot 20.
So last but not least is lot 20. This is on the Whalen side of the development. It's the first lot on the left as you enter the site. Again, there's a basin that's located to the north or left. We are to the right of that. And again, I think everything's pretty straightforward and similar to what we've discussed, keeping in context with some of what we've been discussing. Would propose to move the PIB line in a little bit closer to the home. In particular, if you look at the existing PIB right at elevation 422, let's see if you go right to the back of the house, like your screen was good before. Yeah, so if you see the contours as they follow the PIB, yep, right there, there's a PIB right there that you just hit, Don. If we essentially started there and follow the 420 contour line, pull that in an extra, 10 feet or so. I think that would give us even some more buffer till we hit till you hit the drainage easement, essentially. And again, similar to the last lots, you can see there's a corner nearly right there.
So just for clarification, the PIB will be pulled to the 420 contour,
That's correct. Yep.
all along the back side of the house there. So you won't
Yeah,
have
well,
that.
I think it would stop at the it would stop at the drainage easement. You can see the corner where that drainage easement curves. Yeah, right by the foundation drain, right there, exactly. So essentially there, because that's where we're within the easement for the detention basin that again needs to be maintained. So we just want to make sure everything outside of that on the wetland side is not maintained.
Got it. Okay. All right. I'll open up to comments from commission members.
Through the chair.
Yes, Ted.
John, I'm wondering if we can't do better than that. To make the point I've made over and over, side yard is not as valuable as backyard. I don't know that we need to have that much lawn in the 50 to 100. So starting at the same 422, or was it 420? At the same right there, I'm wondering if we can't have a line, follow that contour along, please, Don. Beautiful. And then like there, stop, back up, right about there, and get us out of that 50 to 100 buffer. Head for the road from there.
Well, I don't think we're heading for the road, because I think everything on the left of that is going to be mowed at the detention basin. You're right,
Okay.
and that's out of the 100-foot anyway. So I was kind of going right to that 100-foot, right where the detention basin is.
So all of that, like where it says prop 4-inch PVC, all of that needs to be mowed for the detention basin? It seems far-ish away from the detention basin and not.
No, not there. And right there, it's pretty close with its driveway and all that. That's out over the 100-foot.
No, wait, I'm sorry. It's so frustrating if we can't point at a map.
It's tough.
It's within the 50 to 100 where I see the note prop 4-inch PVC foundation drain, where I see the note, right? That's in the 50 to 100. Does
Correct.
that need to be mowed for access to the detention basin?
No, not in there for the basin, but you do need to get around the house, and the backyard is where they're going to essentially have their their leisure time and whatnot. But you still need to get around the house. I mean, if you wanted to pull that into the 418 contour instead of the 420 contour, I think it does the same thing and gives a little bit more. But I think the intent is you still have to kind of get around the house and the driveway, and then everything to the left of that is going to be maintained for the basin. So again, I think we could pull that into
Do you mean 422? Because your original proposal was
yes. That I apologize. I went the wrong way. Yes, I meant 422, but said 418.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I necessarily always understand how the drainage basins have to work. So I'm at a handicap there. That just feels like more yard in a spot that you said is not valuable to the homeowner earlier. But if we have to have it mowed for access to the drainage basin, I'm in no position to say that that's wrong. I wonder if anyone else who has more experience can talk to me about that. I just feel like that's a lot of side yard in the buffer, and I don't know if the homeowner needs that much.
Through the chair,
Yep, go ahead, Don.
can John confirm this is the drainage easement line?
That's confirmed.
So you're saying that needs to be maintenance outside the drainage easement?
No,
On the
well, I'm saying
private
like where you're pointing to is actually outside of the 100-foot buffer. That's So that area is outside of the 100-foot buffer.
Right.
That thick line is the 100-foot buffer. So everything, between the drainage easement and the driveway, that'll just get maintained and mowed and all that good stuff. And then
So John, as a compromise, on the side yard there where the 100-foot buffer zone is, see the 426 contour? Right where Don's arrow is?
yeah.
Can we kind of bring that down towards the back and feather it into the 422 just to give us some more buffer zone?
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
So, starts at the 426, but then kind of feathers into the 422 as it goes back. So it maintains some of the backyard, but you're giving up a little bit more in the side yard. You see what I mean?
So if Don were to draw a line from there, you might hit the D in the word drain. And you might hit the second P, nope, above you, Don, above where the note says drain. Right, so you draw a line right about there, and then you head back to that original proposed starting point where the 420 contour hits the backyard PIB. That's exactly the kind of thing I'm thinking, Jeff.
Does that make sense, Mr. Cusick?
So let me repeat it back to you. I think it does. But so starting on the on the opposite side, behind the house would follow the 422 contour, and then as we're moving around the corner of the house would blend it in to the 426 where it meets the 100-foot buffer at that point, and then run it to the basin.
Correct.
So giving a little bit more area there.
That's what I have in mind.
Sure, we can certainly do that.
Thank you. And thank you, Jeff, for clarifying.
Yep, no problem.
And John, that's all I was saying. It seemed like Ted was asking about, if this area had to get mowed because this area had to get mowed because it was outside. That seemed like there was some confusion about the crossover area in here.
Yeah.
Outside the detention basin.
Yeah, it would just look weird if the detention basin was mowed. You had a small sliver of unmowed, and then an area that was mowed for lawn. It would look really weird. I just wanted to make sure it stayed contiguous because it would just be a funny look for the homeowner, which I think this accomplishes what we're talking about.
Okay, questions, comments from the public? All right, and I think Matt's comments are in line with what we discussed on the other lots. There's nothing unique on this one. So we'll just carry those through. And if I can get a motion to close and approve the notice of intent for lot 20 as discussed, subject to receipt of a revised plan.
I'll make that motion too.
And the second.
This is that, I'll second it.
And we'll do the roll call vote. Carrie.
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. All right.
Well, we thank you all very much. Really appreciate it. And hopefully, Dawn, this is the last time we see you.
Thanks, John.
Yep. Don is officially retiring after this meeting, so it should be the last time you see him.
We hope.
No, wait a minute. We got to have a party and the public will be invited.
You don't want to go there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cusick. Appreciate you working with us on those.
No, thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time. Have a nice evening.
You too. Okay, Heritage Properties. This is Legacy Farms North, the enforcement and fines hearing. And I think I saw Mr. Bemis join the call. Or not Mr. Bemis. It was yeah.
Am I not coming back into this?
Good evening, Mr. Bemis.
Yeah, I'm trying. Hang on. Let me do this again. Oh, goodness sakes. Oh, my goodness sakes.
We can hear you, Peter.
Oh, you can? Okay, good.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was
You're
trying
live.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to get you back on the screen. So I can't see you any longer, but you can hear me. So I clicked the right button. So I apologize.
No worries.
So yes, I'm here. Dawn did email me. So, we had discussed the fact that we had our breach during that snow rain event, and that the fines that had been held in abeyance would be applied, and I understand that. And then I had seen that Dawn had calculated a new fine. And at the time when we had last met, I did not wish to argue about what would be applied and how it would be calculated. I did see the amount. It's obviously more than I thought it would be under the circumstances, but I understand it, and I would hope that the board might consider holding that in abeyance. And we don't wish to have this happen further, but I'll leave that to your better judgment.
Yeah, so we had the original fines from the event back in 2018, right?
Correct.
And these are the fines associated with the most recent event at the site. Actually, I take that back.
I'd agree with that, Jeff.
Yep, no, that's right. Sorry, Don. So I think what I would like to propose to the commission is that the original fines that we held in abeyance are assessed.
Through the
and
chair,
then- Yes, Don.
at the May 11th meeting, the commission did take the fine that was held in abeyance, the $6,000 from 2018, and decided to assess it. So
Okay.
that letter went out saying that fine is no longer held in abeyance, it's issued.
Okay,
Then
good.
you guys scheduled this meeting to review the events of April 16th through April 21st of this year. And then, now you're going to talk about that. You could do whatever you want, hold it in abeyance or whatever you want, but this is the discussion now at this point.
Right, yeah.
This is the memo you guys asked to be drafted for review at tonight's meeting.
Got it. Sorry for the confusion. I was just trying to get my ducks in order here. Okay.
Yeah, I was.
Is
yeah,
this a public
It's
hearing?
confusing, yeah.
Is this a
Yes,
public hearing?
This is a public hearing, yes.
Okay, so there'll be an opportunity for public comment?
There will be, yes. Okay, so the original fines that were held in abeyance were assessed. This is the new tabulation of the fines based on the sedimentation event that happened earlier this year. So what I would propose to the commission is that we hold this most recent set of fines in abeyance, subject to, compliance with the erosion and sedimentation plan. And if there's another event, then, we would assess the fine. How much more time do you project for the project to be complete, Mr. Bemis?
Well, at the rate that he's selling units, even faster than I project right now, but I see us at least going through phase 3, which is the section of the project that we're on through 22. But it could very well be that the third quarter of 22, we are buttoning up that site, and we've moved on to phase 4. So it is moving pretty rapidly with the real estate market being what it is right now.
Okay. All right, so that's kind of what I'm going to throw out there on the table. I'll let the other commission members weigh in and let me know what their opinion is.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
This is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
I assume these fines are fixed per event. There's a statute that says what they have to be.
Through the
Yep.
chair,
Yes, it's in the regulations, Don. But go ahead.
I can bring those up if you guys want.
No, that's okay. I just
Yep, it's in the
Section
Hopkinton.
right here, where we're quoting of the regs, section 16.26, 16.2.1.
Got it. Thank you, Don.
Through the chair, I have a question for the chair.
Yes, Ted, go ahead.
I know that this last event led to some embarrassing conversations you had to have with folks in Ashland. Is there any money that Hopkinton is supposed to send to Ashland if a project in Hopkinton pollutes Ashland? How does that work? Or is it just a, oops, we're sorry?
Through the chair.
Yes, Don, go ahead.
I think Peter Beams could probably confirm. I think the last, back in 2018, I think the applicant had to appear before the Ashland Conservation Commission and deal with their own thing. We can only deal with, the commission's jurisdiction,
Okay.
Yeah, I will answer that. I mean, in 18, we did meet with the Ashland Commission on numerous occasions. Then we had the good fortune of not having to go there again until this most recent. And then I appeared before them on 2 occasions and then one time in the field to show them the entire project. I wanted them to better understand the circumstances of this event. And we're trying to continue to have open dialogue with them. And on this matter, the only thing I wanted to say was that although Don has added 6 days here, as I said, I did not want to belabor the discussion on that. I just accepted it. We did take care of the problem the same day of the event. It was just circumstances that shouldn't have happened, and unfortunately they did. And that's why I just said I'd accept whatever Donald concluded. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think, so I would agree that the sedimentation was addressed that day. But based on Beta's review, because they went out to the site, it was a Friday that I went out there, I believe. And, we do appreciate you guys jumping on it that day and over the weekend. It was basically mitigated within, 24 hours. But there was still erosion controls and some of the barriers on site that when Beta did their review the following week, I think it was a Tuesday or a Wednesday, that there was still some issues that they had observed that needed to be addressed. So that's where Don, came up with the 6 days for the basically the erosion controls, hadn't been completely buttoned up on that within that 24-hour period, but the sedimentation was mitigated, going down into the Ashland Reservoir. And it was, having to be notified, by the Ashland Conservation Administrator that sedimentation coming off our site, and I made this point when we discussed this last time. It's just a little embarrassing from our commission standpoint, managing a project in Hopkinton and, having to be contacted by Ashland, the Ashland Conservation Administrator, to let us know what the issues were on our project in Hopkinton. So I'll leave it at that. And are there any final thoughts from commission members on this?
Yes, through the chair. So
Yep.
I agree with sort of the process of we kept we issued the fines from the prior violation that had been held in abeyance, and now we'll leave it in abeyance unless there's a further violation. But what I wonder is if there is another violation, is it again just sort of we can only charge per what's in the regulations, or in that case, is it like, hey, this is the third time, there's obviously an issue here, and that we could then issue a higher fine?
Yeah, so it would be, the fines are dictated by the regulations, Janine. But what we could do is, if there is another episode, you know, the commission could contemplate assessing this fine that's being held in abeyance in addition to what other fines are calculated based on, whatever happens at the site the next time, right? So it'd be the 3,900 plus whatever fines are assessed on a subsequent event. And that would be based on, what the event was, the duration of it. And it would be tabulated based on the outline in the regulations.
Okay, so it is a set fine. It's not like, this is the fine, and then we want to assess an additional penalty on top of that because it's a repeat.
Right, so you can't really be arbitrary about it.
Okay, thank you.
Don, that's my understanding at least, correct?
Yes, through the chair. Just a breakdown. This violation is for the event that entered resource area. This is for the violation of the order of conditions that the erosion controls weren't fully up. So the interpretation I was getting from the emails from Beta and Peter Bemis's is that they were out there on the 16th, but they were still going to do stuff on Monday and Tuesday. So to me, that was just saying this was the amount of time they needed to button up the erosion controls. So in case there was another event, it would have been handled. So I was just interpreting what Beta had given us as an overview. I wasn't on site. So if Mr. Bemis wants to, argue this point, he can run it by the chair, the commission.
Yeah, and then actually, I've agreed with that. Honestly, I'd rather there be a substantial amount here to avoid this happening and have everyone know that it's there. So believe me, to me, it's a double-edged sword, and I don't mind the double edges being applied to my side of the equation. So I'm fine with it.
It's just the way the bylaw and the regs are written, so.
And Ashland did come out to the site. They see the magnitude of our project. It is not a small project. They did indicate that they were, we use the right word, I guess, is that they thought that we handled this very well, that we were responsive. They found that they've had projects in their community that were not as responsive. So they did indicate that, we've handled the situation well in their eyes. But again, we don't want this to happen. It's a difficult area. There's not a lot of room between us and the Ashland town line, unfortunately. We have to work right up to that edge with this project. So we have to be very careful here. And we have been trying to be careful all the time.
And through the chair, I think
Don.
the chair was saying that's why he's asking for it to be considered to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Held in abeyance because of your quick action. You were out there, I think we learned about it like 11 o'clock. You were out there in the afternoon, you worked, through till Monday and Tuesday so I think the commission understood that and was appreciative of the quick turnaround you were providing. You weren't just like, screw it, you were on top of it.
I couldn't do that to you, Don.
Okay, Ms. Towner, did you have a comment?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Okay, so my comment has to do with the fact that they haven't done their oversight. They have not submitted, as far as I can tell, their stormwater PPP reports for, it's been like a year or maybe more than a year. So these are the reports that they're supposed to be somebody who's watching the store over there. They're supposed to be somebody who's ensuring that these controls, and this is the order of conditions, right? The order of conditions that they submit these reports. So I don't understand why there isn't a violation assessed for every single missed report, because this, and every day that the report is late, because without any oversight, and like you say, the proper controls were not in place, and you know, that's the root cause of this issue, is that the proper barriers and controls, and you know, like I said, this is the third time it's happened, and you know, they know when it's going to rain. They know what kind of controls they put in. This is not the first, you know, 6 months of this project, so they're just not performing on the order of conditions to have this you know, engineering person engineering these protections. And you know, I say to the commission, you know, you need to assess penalties and violations for these missing reports, because this is the oversight that's supposed to be taking place, and it's not.
Okay, so just to clarify, there were 2 events, not 3. But as far, Don, I mean, the site inspection reports have been coming in, you know, as required. I mean, they might be a day late or something like that, but as,
No, she's correct. I brought up the last report we've got is 2019 that I've seen submitted.
Why does not the commission know this?
Ms.
Why
Towner,
are you not assessing violations on this? This is the order of conditions. This is the root cause.
okay, we got it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I will say that W&W, that Paul Collins was from WW. WW was taken off the job, and after we had all those other issues, and we instituted a different program. But I'm sorry, the reports didn't continue coming in. But I tell you, Ms. Towner, if you would allow me to finish, please. I will assure you that you do not hear from us again after that date as well, because we doubled down and we were very systematic in how we addressed these issues on site. So I will reinstitute the reports. I'm sorry for that. We'll do them through our office. We have a different contractor on board. They're just not equipped to the same standards. So I have been monitoring, I have been checking, but we did not submit reports. I will submit a report weekly from now on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can just make sure that those are provided to our office, you know, on a weekly basis.
I will.
I have one point to reiterate.
Yes, Ms. Towner.
Okay, so the soil that we're dealing with is contaminated soil. Okay, it's contaminated with dieldrin. Okay, there is zero safe level of spill for this. It's a chemical that clings to the soil. That's its chemical properties. It binds to the soil. And we've been over this time and time again. There is zero safe level of this spilling into the reservoir. Okay, and the fact that they can't even, I mean, they're saying that they didn't hire anybody to do this for 2 years. Okay, it's not acceptable. And the longer the commission just says, well, whatever, submit it next time. This happened because they did not have they did not staff this project. They just, you know, so what? We have, you know, 4-inch rainstorm and, you know, we just wait till the next one. They need to be assessed for these violations, or it's just going to happen again. This is the 5th year of this project. There is no excuse for not staffing the environmental controls. You know, I mean, this is a disgrace. And the fact that we're, you know, doing this to Ashland, you know, the fact that they can't even self-report these violations like they don't know what's going to happen when you get, 4 inches of rain and they know they haven't done a darn thing to protect, it's a disgrace. And,
Okay.
if this commission doesn't do something about it, it's your disgrace.
Okay, thank you. So we have done something about it. I've been out at the site during both events. I've monitored the mitigation that was done after both events.
Prevention.
Uh,
There should be
Excuse me,
prevention.
Ms. Towner, don't interrupt me, please. Thank you. The commission has assessed the fine. And we've assessed a second fine, which we are going to hold in abeyance. And we will be sure to make sure that the contractor is submitting the stormwater reports as required under the order of conditions going forward.
Through the
So,
chair.
yes, go ahead, Matt.
Just to get back to Janine's point about, I guess maybe sort of sending the message that, sort of 3 strikes and you're out type of thing. With this other violation of not submitting these reports in a timely manner, I do agree that is, a fairly significant issue, because if whether somebody's minding the store or not, if we're not seeing the reports, we have no way of knowing that. I'm just wondering if the commission would consider having Dawn calculate what a potential fine would be for that, and potentially holding that in abeyance with this current fine, because I'm guessing that one may add up significantly if the last reports came in 2019, and you're potentially hitting them on a per day basis for not submitting those reports. Just a thought.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion, Matt. If we can, Don, I don't know if you're going to have time to do it, or if we can direct Kimberly to do that. And then, we can add it to the 3,900 subtotal that's currently tabulated.
Yeah, we can do that. And just to note, the conservation staff does go out periodically and review the site, and we haven't had an incident since 2019. So, but yeah, I can definitely amend this memo based
Okay.
on those comments.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes, Ed.
This is Ed. I absolutely support that.
Okay.
As do I. Matt beat me to the comment.
No, that's a good suggestion. And that gives us a little bit more teeth, if there's another event, then, it's certainly an incentive for the property owner to make sure that there are no issues going forward and the reports are submitted in a timely fashion through the end of the project. So, okay.
Thank you.
All right. So I think you know where we're coming from, Mr. Bemis.
Yes,
And
I do.
hopefully we won't see you before us anytime soon, or at least before the project is complete and we're discussing the COC. So we'll move along. Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, just one quick question. So I'll update the memo and I'll just forward it to the members and to Mr. Bemis as well.
Yes, please, Don.
Okay, doke.
Thank you.
All right, good night.
Good night. Okay. Abbott Realty Trust. This is the parcels on Adam Street. This is a continuation of a notice of intent.
Evening, Mr. Chair.
Good evening, Mr. Costa. How are you today?
I'm okay, thanks. How are you?
Good, thanks. So you want to just give us a quick update as to where you folks are, and then I have a little bit of information to get back to you guys as well. We had an internal discussion about the project, and I just wanted to run a couple of our thoughts by you. But if you want to go first, that would be great.
Sure. So I'll thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. So I'll just give a brief recap so we all remember where we were a few weeks ago when we were last before you, and then I'm going to quickly turn it over to Rob Truax, who can better address the plans than I can. So we were before you a few weeks ago. We presented to you the plan that had previously been presented to you, but we had specifically addressed some issues that had arisen, concerns that had been expressed by neighbors in the houses along Blueberry Lane with respect to the drainage, surface water, groundwater, and whatnot. And we had presented to you at that last meeting a proposal to try and address as best we can existing drainage problems that, again, are not necessarily, or more than that, they're not directly connected to the proposal that's before you for these additional house lots, but we recognize that there's a relationship. So prior to the last meeting, Rob had meetings with several of the neighbors along Blueberry Lane, had discussed with them a proposal to try and address these groundwater and surface water runoff concerns, and we had presented those to you at the last meeting. We had also received, I think, maybe just a couple of days prior to the last session of the public hearing, a review letter from Beta Group. We had further back and forth that needed to occur, and there were also a couple of outstanding items with Lucas Environmental as well. So with that, you see on your screen now that we did receive a further review letter, further round from Beta Group dated June 3rd in response to a June 1st letter from Rob Truax. And I think we're generally pleased with the responses. I think the substantial majority of them indicate that we've satisfied any concern that was had. We've resolved any issue that was outstanding. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rob so he can address the couple of topics that I guess we would still qualify as outstanding, but we believe we can address with the commission tonight.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rob Truax of GLM Engineering Consultants. So since that last meeting, we did a revision and we revised that drainage trench to raise the invert of the pipe so it's no deeper than 2 feet from the surface. I provided some additional information to the board, as well as I think it went out to Beta Group. We had I submitted a series of soil testing that we had done back in 2015, 16 of we were trying to do perk tests in the area at that time, and we did evaluations on all the lots. So just to give the board an idea in Beta Group where the groundwater is and what types of soils are throughout the site, and we provided that. So I do want to say that we revised the drainage along the back of the lots. I did read the letter that we just received that on Beta Groups, and they do talk about that drain, and they make some suggestions as to, I think it's SW6 is their comment that's pretty much talks about the drain in detail and what they would like to see. And in some of that I agree with, and some of that I think we should, consider what we've already proposed. So in one instance, if you look at that comment, we're already proposing, the trench drain 2 feet deep with the stone. We're actually berming up the downhill side of that. So we're actually creating a berm, and it's going to create some type of a swale because everything slopes in the direction of the trench drain towards the street drainage system. We're not opposed. We've talked about this. We would provide an easement, a 20-foot wide easement around the drains that we would grant the town rights to those easements along with when they accept the roads. So if there was a problem, they would have the right to at least go on, inspect or whatever, enforce something to the effect that they have to have the homeowner repair the drain. So we're amenable to that as well. The applicant, Daniel, since the last meeting, did reach out, have a conversation with the director of the DPW about the detention basins and the maintenance of those long term, and the town does recognize that they would be responsible for maintaining them. I don't know if he's reached out to you. He did indicate that he was going to reach out to the commission either via letter or a conversation. I'm not really sure how that, if that took place, if maybe that's the information you have, I don't know.
Yep.
But I think that pretty much sums it up where we're at now. I mean, there's some conditions in here that we're very amenable to, as you know, conditions of approval that Beta has suggested. We have no issues with those. And I do think the trench drain, I'd like to leave the pipe in place with the stone. I don't have a problem building up the berm on the other side. It will just, the water will hit the berm and collect in the trench drain and get out to the drainage system. And like I said, we do not have a problem putting an easement around those so that people have the right to get in there and either inspect or maintain, et cetera. So I think that's pretty much a summary of where we're at.
Okay.
And if I could just add to what Rob said, and I presume the commissioners know this, but that requirement of an easement would typically be a condition of approval. We would convey that easement before, once the installation is done. We wouldn't want to convey the easement now and then complete the construction. We'd complete the construction and then we convey the easement prior to, the first certificate of occupancy or something like that.
Okay. I think that seems reasonable. So Mr. Westerling was involved in the kind of internal, Hopkinton discussion that we had. And as you said, did confirm that going forward, the town is responsible for maintaining the detention basins going forward. We also discussed the kind of groundwater interceptor drain in the berm. I'm not opposed to a combined solution there. I think kind of the thoughts that we had were that it would be very difficult to, over a long-term basis, maintain a trench drain, right? The silt fabric, that's a component of that, gets silted up. Just be for, it could be challenging. And the alternative that was discussed was, the berm piece. But I think if the applicant is proposing the berm with the trench drain, I'm not a stormwater engineer or expert, but that sounds like a reasonable solution to me. That way there, if the trench drain fails, the berm is kind of redundant drainage component that, keeps the water going in the direction that it should be. So I'm fine with that as long as Beta is. So the question that I had is, so there are 20, and I'm trying to find my memo here. How many single family homes are currently proposed? 17?
17 is shown on the plan, correct?
Okay. And this is probably a question for Mr. Costa, because if you look at this, and I'm just throwing this out there for you guys to just take a look at, in the settlement agreement that was executed between the town and the Abbott Realty Trust. If you go to section 3, Don, so scroll down. 3A, right there, that paragraph. If you look at the last sentence, or the second to last, the parties acknowledge that the plan set attachment 3 may be modified during the permitting process. However, in the event Abbott modifies its proposal to include more than 16 lots or dwelling units, this agreement shall be null and void. So I think just from a perspective of keeping the settlement agreement in place between the town and the developer, one of those lots may have to go away. So I'm just, that's a legal thing. That's not a commission thing. but I just wanted that to bring that to your attention. And then with regard to, so the Adams Street, the plan is that goes away, correct? Currently?
That's correct.
Okay, can that portion, that Adams Street, be conveyed to the town under a conservation restriction? I'm throwing that out there. That's something for you folks to think about. You don't have to answer it now, okay?
Okay. Yeah, we can't answer that without talking to the owners.
Yep. Yeah, and then the other suggestion that I want to do, just bring up is as part of the mitigation for the wetland that's being filled for the construction of Myrtle Street, okay? There are several lots in this area where the wetlands are located and where the replication area is. You know,
Correct.
lot 49, 48. It's kind of hard to see. It's pretty small, but lot 53.
54.
Yeah, 54, this lot 42 that the easement crosses. You know,
Yeah.
that's all buffer zone for the wetlands. And we wanted to ask if, you know, the developer or the, you know, if Abbott would be amenable to putting those under a conservation restriction to protect the buffer zones going forward as part of the mitigation.
That,
And Mr. Chair, would the commission be the holder of that restriction?
We could do it. Our preference would be to have, there's a Hopkinton area land trust in town. Because they have the resources to kind of maintain it, whereas the commission doesn't. It can be either way. It could be the commission. Our preference would be to have it under Hopkinton area land trust. But it would be basically the same language, either, you know, for whatever, whether it's the town of Hopkinton Conservation Commission or whether it's Hopkinton area land trust. We would just have to get the officers of the land trust to kind of review the proposed language if, you know, for the restriction, if you were amenable to that. So it'd be another layer of review, essentially.
Sure. So I can certainly discuss that with my client, and then I've had past dealings with Maury Gasser, so I could always communicate with him and
Okay.
get some additional information. Sure.
Okay. And then in terms of, you know, if a lot needed to be eliminated, to make sure that Abbott is compliant with the settlement agreement, I'm thinking that this lot, it looks like 52. That's kind of between Diane Stewart and Michelle and Richard Lativis.
yep, I see it.
The smaller lot, maybe that one could be the one that's eliminated to make sure that the buffer, the wooded buffer, stays intact there to prevent stormwater issues on the property, but that's something for you to think about, okay? So those were my thoughts. And I'll open it up to Matt first to see if Matt has any questions or comments.
So I reviewed the information, basically the response to our last memo that was from February. And I think they addressed everything with the only exception that one of the comments was increasing the density of trees in sort of the access road to the mitigation area. And in the narrative, they stated they had increased the density, but on the plan, the numbers don't reflect that. I think it was supposed to go to 12 total trees. And at least on the version of the plan that I saw, it still showed 6. So that's just a pretty minor thing that should be addressed. And then really my only other comment with regard to the sort of the most recent drainage thing is design is, I guess if the if the applicant or maybe Beta can or has chimed in on this as far as concerns of that potentially draining that isolated wetland. If the applicant's thought about that at all, has any evidence to submit to demonstrate why there shouldn't be any concern over that. Those are really my only remaining issues.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. Okay, so it looks like we're getting close, both from the Beta and the Lucas review standpoint. And then let me open it up to comments, questions from other commission members. Nothing? Okay. Any comments or questions from the public on this?
Hi, this is Alex Scott from 15 Blueberry Lane.
Yes, Mr. Scott, how are you tonight?
Good. So we met with Mr. Truax when they came out and kind of walked the properties with the neighbors. And I understand that for 15 Blueberry and 13 Blueberry, you couldn't get the drainage plan on here because the plan is going to be to put the drainage actually on our lots, on the back of the lots. So we were going to have like a separate plan for that. So I guess what I'm wondering there is there's some way to make reference to that somewhere in writing, just so that it doesn't get forgotten about down the road. If it's not going to be on the plan and it's going to be sort of a side plan, how do we go about, making sure that that eventually happens?
That's a good question, Don.
Mr. Chair, I can probably add something here.
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Costa.
Thank you. So we discussed this amongst ourselves, and I mean, this is always the challenge I've had it arise in other circumstances, both when I've represented applicants and when I've represented municipal boards, where there's a commitment by an applicant to do something, but it's not on the subject property. It's not, whether it's a conservation commission notice of intent filing, or it's a special permit issued by a planning or a zoning board. The proposal is to, let's say, offer screening on a neighbor's property because it's more appropriately placed on that property. The planning board might not have jurisdiction over that because it's not the subject property. It's not the property that is before the board. So with that said, we certainly have no objection to you making a reference in any order of conditions that would issue, acknowledging that we intend to do this. But we're also happy, separate and apart from this permitting process, to meet with these neighbors and to negotiate something in writing, provide something in writing, so that they have the documentation that they're looking for. We've obviously made a commitment. My client intends to stand by that commitment, but we recognize that it's unique because it's somewhat outside of the purview or the jurisdiction of a permitting authority, given that it's occurring on other property.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And to echo kind of the abutters' concerns, we want to make sure that the system's designed appropriately. The town's able to peer review it, and it's somehow incorporated into the project in the order of conditions, to make sure that it's completed the specification and is functioning properly. But no, we appreciate you meeting with the neighbors, putting it in writing. And I think Mr. Truax, my understanding is that you guys are putting some type of design together for that. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. I actually drew it up. I have it. I don't have it tonight to show you, but I have it to show the neighbors.
Okay.
So we were going to reach out to them.
Okay. Okay. And then, if we can just have, if you can just provide that to Beta so they can take a quick look at it as well.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay.
We wouldn't, I don't think we'd put an easement around, we wouldn't put easements on their properties though for their drains, just so you know.
Okay.
For the town, these would be private. And I don't think they would want us putting easements through their backyards.
we'd have no authority to place an easement on their property. They would always have the authority to grant the town an easement if the town wanted to take it and they wanted to grant it, but we couldn't do that.
Yeah, okay. Okay. All right, that all sounds good. Are there any other questions, comments from the public?
Through
Hi,
the
this is
chair.
Stephanie.
Yes, Stephanie, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Gelbwax and I'm over at 19 Blueberry. And so I had a couple questions about drainage. There is a property that it abuts my property, but it also abuts the property next door to me, number 17 Blueberry. And you can see that there's a drainage that runs on the diagonal and then it cuts over to what would have been Adams Street. And what I'm wondering is I know in our past meeting, it was discussed that the future homeowners or people, whoever are responsible for the property, would also be responsible for keeping the drainage clear to make sure that they function properly. That parcel that abuts my property with the diagonal drainage, that I believe will continue to be under the builder's ownership. So I just want to make sure that he will be responsible for maintaining that, because all of that water will head toward my property and my two neighbors' properties. So I just want to make sure that that will be addressed. And in addition to that, I'm trying to figure out when they're actually going to be putting all of these drains in. Is it going to be before they start really taking down a lot of trees and doing a lot of construction? I just want to make sure that whatever is being done, it's not going to exacerbate our problems.
Right, yeah, okay. So to answer the first part of your question, what the commission had proposed to the applicant is that lot 42 there, which has wetland buffer zone in it, that be conveyed to either the town, the Conservation Commission, or HALT as under conservation restriction as open space. So my thought there is that for that property, since it's not going to be owned by an individual, the town would likely be responsible for maintaining that berm in the trench for that one particular lot.
Okay.
As far as the second part of your question on the sequencing, I'll defer to Mr. Truax on that. I don't recall seeing a construction sequencing plan in the file, but I may be mistaken. Mr. Truax, do you have any further comment?
We can provide a sequencing plan. I don't think we provided anything on that, to be honest. No, I don't see one. We did give a vague one, like just, the pre-construction meeting, installation of, the entrances, the perimeter controls, the fence, clearing and grubbing, rough grading, installation. Normally the sewer would go in first and then the drainage would go in second.
Okay.
Only because it's deeper. But I mean, we can talk this over and come up with a plan that these drains can go. The problem is I can't put the drains in until I have the main drains in the street, the proposed street. And we wouldn't put those in before the sewer. It's just,
right.
You generally don't do that. You generally put the deeper ones in first because it is the sewer is down the deepest, and then the next utility is generally the drainage. The last one's the water, and then the electric and cable TV and all that goes in last, and the gas. Just kind of order a sequence. But we can come up with a little more. I mean, I did put, just like I said, bullets. There's like 13 points on the erosion control plan on how it takes place. But if you want, we can try and come up with a finer tune on that and see if we can discuss how we would do that.
Yeah, if you can make it a little bit more robust, and I think you understand the concern of the
I do.
Right? You don't want the entire subdivision cleared, and all the trees removed and the property grubbed, and then it's a year before the drainage goes in, and they're dealing with surface water issues, until the drain goes in. So, that's the issue, right?
Yep.
Mr. Scott. Okay.
Yes.
We'll talk about that. We'll fine tune it.
Okay.
We'll put a little more detail on it.
Okay, great.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, it was Mrs. Gilbert. Sorry, not Mrs. Scott.
No worries, thank you.
Yep. Okay. All right. So I think any other comments or questions?
Through the chair, this is
Oh
Ed.
yeah, Ed. Sorry, it's getting late.
Yes, tell
Playing
me
the
about it.
fade.
It's late for you, it's later for me. I read a paper, the title of which is The Effectiveness of Compensatory Wetland Mitigation in Massachusetts, USA. And I think I disseminated the abstract to the commission. The record for wetland replication isn't terribly good, to be charitable. And the soil here, and I am no soil person, but my reading is the soil here is pretty difficult and not really suitable for lack of a better word, percolation. And I assume that Beta is going to comment on all of this in more depth.
They will not comment on the replication piece.
Chair?
Matt will, yep, go ahead, Matt. Matt would typically take a look at that.
Yeah, Ed, just to respond to that, a couple of thoughts. One, on the study that you disseminated, I've seen that study is getting a little long in the tooth these days. Certainly there's some good information in that study. I think when I first read that study, the big takeaway from it was the biggest reason for failing wetland mitigation construction is that it never gets built. So that kind of falls back on the regulatory agencies such as local conservation commissions. I think this commission does a very good job of making sure that things do get built and that they're built the way that they're designed to be built. And if the design doesn't work, there are contingencies in place to make it work. So secondarily, as far as the comment on the soils, lack of percolating soils and C and D soils, which is I believe what we have on the site here, are actually probably more conducive to successful wetland mitigation than a nice sandy A soil that's going to drain out quickly. And you've got to really think about, how is the groundwater coming up? How long is it staying? Do you have to line it? Do you have to put in a different type of soil? So I think the design has been put forth on this. I have confidence that, presuming it's constructed properly and overseen, has a good chance of being successful. Of course, that's why we monitor it. And if it isn't successful, then we'll look at it, find out what went wrong. Was it built wrong? Was the design improper? And make sure that it does provide long-term benefits that it was intended to do.
Thanks, Matt.
Through the chair,
Yes, Don.
just also to chime in on Ed's point about the report and yeah, it's noted that, Mother Nature does a much better job at making wetlands than man does. But the commission back at the time when the bylaw was being created, that information was relevant then, which was why you have a point in the regs that the bylaw, it's not 1-to-1 like the act does. It's 1.5. It's hopefully trying to take into account that we know, sometimes there's some it doesn't come out as designed. So they tried to put a little extra, so we might get more bang for the buck on that issue.
Yep. Thanks, Don. I think another, just to add to both Don and Matt's point, I think another big factor in the success of the replication area is also the type of plants that you're putting into the replication area, was my understanding from the paper. So again, the commission does a good job of specifying and reviewing the types of plants that are proposed. And if something looks like it's not going to work, alternatives are presented and different options. So I'm pretty comfortable with it as well.
Right. If we can't issue a certificate of compliance if it doesn't at least meet 75% of the, vegetation.
Yep. Okay. Okay, unless there's any other comments on this, I think we will continue it out until the next hearing. Which is, it's either June 22nd or July 13th of the next two. Is the 22nd going to give you folks adequate time to respond? Mr. Truex?
I believe so. We're going to meet this week and discuss these items. I don't think there's a lot of plan revision here. We just need to go through the request of the board and see what we come up with here. Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay, so if you can just please send Don an email requesting a
Sure. Yep.
continuation out to the 22nd, that'd be great.
Or to Kim would be
Oh, yeah,
great.
Kim,
Kim.
sorry.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, we'll put this in the email, but if I could just make a request, if at all possible, if we could be placed maybe as early on in that agenda as possible. I have a conflict that night, but it's fortunately a late one. I've got an executive session with the board I represented about 8:30 or 9 o'clock. So if there's any potential of getting us on earlier in the agenda, that would be helpful.
Okay, well, yep, we'll take a look at it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I think we're all set then for tonight. Thank you, folks. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Good evening. You're welcome. Okay, Don, I think that's it for tonight.
I think you're right. I think we hit everything.
Don, it's been a pleasure, a privilege, and an honor to have worked with you these past.
No, the honor's all mine.
I don't even want to say it, but we'd like to try to get together with you, in person the next couple weeks if you can manage it.
Well, we talked about whenever I think Ted floated it, if you guys had a slow meeting, I'd take a drive over and sit in the audience whenever this COVID stuff's over, and
heckle us.
And bringing up that point, Anna, do you want to touch base on the situation about the 22nd?
Yeah, that would be hearing number 15 of the night for them.
No. I'm talking about sorry. Yeah. Yeah. That guy's request was, we got a lot of people that have already on the agenda for the 22nd. No, the location of where we're going to have that meeting.
Yeah, so right now the two new hearings have been advertised as either virtual or in person at Town Hall. So the legislature, as far as I know, still has not been passed to allow the continuation of remote meetings after June 15th. But the senior center was not available. They have not allowed the resuming in-person meetings. So Town Hall is kind of all we have right now. So my suggestion is the legislature gets passed that we probably meet at least the 22nd virtually still, and then hope for July at the senior center if they can get staffing back to allow us to meet there.
That sounds like a good game plan, Anna.
Yeah, and you don't have, remember we used to meet in the basement of Town Hall? They redid the whole basement. There's no meeting space down there anymore.
Huh.
Yeah, it's very small.
So
Okay.
we have less choices to meet in person than we did in the past.
Is the library allowing meetings? I know they have some space.
We did that way back in the day, but we just didn't know how, at this short notice, the town hall was open. We'd go to the school if we had a conflict because the select board meets on Tuesdays too. So if we get, all right, look, okay, we can't get in the senior center. Oh, we can't get the second floor at town hall. We would have been hitting the library of the school up, But at this point, we had plan B, so we just latched onto that for right now.
Yeah, we'll keep our fingers crossed and hopefully we'll be able to do one more Zoom. But we'll play it by ear.
Because a lot of the towns, like it and are pushing for that. So, and I know it's on their radar screen, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's certain town buildings too that have different mask requirements as well, regardless of
Yeah.
vaccination status. Like the
Exactly.
library, you have to be masked regardless of vaccination status. I would
Right.
assume the same with the schools.
Yeah, that's what we were considering too. We're like, oh, they have different protocols than what we would in town hall, you know?
Mm,
Yeah, so then we'd be having to enforce public staffing, public mask wearing, at our meetings, and that's
Right. Just don't want to go there if
yeah,
we
it's a
didn't have
lot.
to.
It's a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
so hopefully the legislature will move forward. But we hadn't, Elaine last checked on Friday and it hadn't been passed and she's been out for a couple of days. So hopefully have an update soon before the
Okay. Okay. And then Don, to my earlier request, we kind of went back and forth by email, and a lot of the folks on the commission were looking forward to, kind of sending you on your farewell in person so we could buy a beer or something rather than doing it over
Not in
Zoom.
Hopkinton. No, that's not
Not in
gonna happen.
Hopkinton.
No, it's not gonna happen.
All right. All right. Well, we'll figure it out. I'll reach out to you, and we can figure something out.
Yeah, I figured I'd just try and come to a meeting and hang out and bother you,
Okay.
I have a lot of questions, just make your life miserable.
Sounds good. Sounds
Well,
good.
Don, if we have your party in Hopkinton, I could bring my cannon.
Oh, man.
I want to see
All right.
llamas at the party.
All right,
What was
Don.
that?
Well, sorry, go ahead.
See Matt's llamas at the party.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That could be arranged.
There we go.
we just party at Matt's place.
Yeah, there you go.
Sure. Brand new
Yeah.
barn, ready for it.
Yes.
All right,
Wait for
guys.
that.
Well, Don, thanks again for all your help. I'm sure I'll be talking to you, here in the next couple of weeks. But anyways, I can't tell you how much we appreciate you bridging this transition for us. And it really, I don't know what we would have did if you didn't. It would have been,
Yeah.
it would have been
that would've
crazy.
Sucked. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, all right. If I get a motion to adjourn,
I'll make a motion to thank Don.
all right, I'll take that
Second
motion. Too. A motion to adjourn and thank Don.
I'll make that motion too.
All right, and we'll do the roll call. Carrie,
Bye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. All right, guys. At least we didn't go to 11 tonight, so that's good.
Don, thank you. I hope we see you again very soon.
Good night.
All right, guys. Good night.
Thanks, Don.